Mm. There you go. Okey smokies, here we are. LinkedIn Live. I was off last week on vacation, and the blog that I'm talking to you about today, the blog, but the topic, I guess, that I'm talking to you about today is started on the first day as I was driving down or driving north actually to head up to Wisconsin for our family vacation. But first of all, I just want to welcome everybody. My name is Lori Swanson, if you don't know me, and I am the CEO of InspiHER Tech, the founder of Career Alchemy Academy. I I help women in tech and product to feel confident, clear, and go after their dreams, their career dreams, their life dreams, so that they can make more money and have more fun. That's what I think it's all about. I think money, we work to earn and we work to feel fulfilled and to connect with others. And because work is our form of service, but we get paid for it. And the money we receive helps to, uh, you know, it helps in all the ways helps support our kids education, helps support our own retirement, helps us support our community. We are just coming off of a tornado that came through our town, and it was not was bad, in the sense there's lots of down trees and down electrical wires. We were out. I didn't even know if I was actually going to be able to do this call today. We just came back up on internet. We've been down for 2 days. Um, and no electricity. And so, um, you know, the help that money can provide for those. We're back up, but there are many people whose cars were crushed by trees. I mean, we can help those people. And so that's why it's so important to feel confident and clear about what you want to do as your form of service, and then to make sure that you're paid equitably so that you can not only meet your needs and fulfill your dreams, but you can help in meeting the needs and fulfilling the dreams of others. So I had no idea I was going to talk about that right at the top of this, but there we have it. And but to get to what happens here on the this Career Alchemy live broadcast is I come to you almost every week, almost always at the same time, which has been Wednesdays at 1 o'clock. But I want to note in August, I'm moving the time. Starting in August, we will now be going on earlier on Wednesdays, 9 a.m. Central Time for a number of different reasons. And just want to put that out there right now in case you've been plucking off your calendar to make sure you come live. And so now let's get to it, because this is a very interesting idea that has been percolating inside of me. I've had to work with it. It was not something that was super logical, but like it took me a little bit, and it's still I've been working with it in a whole bunch of different areas. But I want to talk to you about one specific one because it came up while I was driving to Wisconsin. First I was listening to the podcast, and then, as you move out of Illinois and as I moved into Wisconsin, there was like a change. I felt a shift in vacation energy was happening to me. And so I thought, I'm going to just turn off the sound right now and let me just look at the sky and look at the greenery, because we're just in that time of year when everything is so green, and we've had a lot of rain, but I will say it's really benefited the grass and the flowers. So it's amazing, just amazing. And the corn was up. And so I just thought I'm going to take in the scenery. So as I quiet the external noise, no surprise, my brain decides, my subconscious, my guides, who knows, decides to bring a thought into my head. It reminded me of it. There was a memory that surfaced that I really had not thought about in a long time, decades. Hadn't thought about it in a long time. But for whatever reason, now was the time that I was meant to think about this. And as I replayed this experience, um, I really had an epiphany. So the memory that surfaced was there was, for 2 decades ran a successful technology search firm, and I had over the years a number of team members, and at one point there was a team member that was not happy and was blaming me for something that really wasn't mine to own. Um, and at that point, I just didn't know what to do with the situation. So I did what I think a lot of people do is, I listened to their side. And I tried to show them, their responsibility in the situation and take on my own responsibility and make amends for it. Um, do what I needed to do to correct any mistakes that had been mine, right? Um, but the epiphany really came uh, that my role in this situation wasn't to fight the blame. Like, of course, no one wants to be blamed, and so it feels bad, in your body. You're just feeling sad and just angry, and especially when 90% of what you're being blamed for is not yours. But that happens a lot, right? Or can happen, both in families as well as, in careers. And so you have these reactions. And the epiphany that I had was that my role in that situation wasn't to fight the blame, like explain the blame, and it certainly wasn't to take the blame, right? Absorb the blame. My role was to simply to hold the blame. And so let me talk a little bit more about what I mean by that. So I'm not saying to ignore what was my responsibility in this situation. If there was something that belonged to me, sifting through, like, assume the blame is like an object coming at you, or it's like a whole bunch of darts or something, and you look at those different things and you're like, oh yeah, this one, yes, I could have done something different here. This was definitely something that intentionally or not intentionally, didn't kind of go the way that I expected, right? So, and then there's all those other darts, I'm thinking of like poison darts, all those other things that are coming at you and feel really painful, but they aren't actually yours to receive, right? And so, it's important to acknowledge and make amends where appropriate. And it's also important not to take on that which isn't yours to carry. And so that's really part of this epiphany, is that once I can separate out when I'm holding, instead of absorbing it again or defending against it or explaining for my left brain about, hey, let's talk through this, instead of getting that kind of vibe to the situation, but separating out what was mine to take responsibility for, and then looking at that leftover blame that doesn't belong to me. And instead of trying to convince the other person why it doesn't belong to me, which is what I used to do quite a bit, like, okay, like wanting them to see my side maybe, or wanting them to see their role as much as I was willing to see my role. But sometimes people are just not ready for that. They can't look at their role in a situation with that level of maturity yet. And so, and in the past, if you were trying to convince someone who wasn't, or explain something to them, or defend against something to someone who wasn't um, at a point where they could really receive and hear that, then you know that feeling, right? It's just like you're going around and around with it's not fruitful, it's not useful, it's not productive, and it's very frustrating. And so um, what I realized was that it wasn't for me to accept the blame, or defend against it, but I was in this position where I could kind of not absorb it. So I don't want to say fully receive it, and also not to ignore it, right? Like I think about Tai Chi or whatever, where they're like, oh, you kind of do this thing where hopefully I'm not going off the screen too much, where you kind of let the negative energy. I actually think you receive it, but not physically or emotionally, but you take it into like a container. That's what I've been sort of imagining, is this organic uh, container that holds all the blame that's not mine. And then we allow that um, to take its time to decompose and transform into something more productive and useful and beneficial to that person, where I might never be involved again, other than I just held it there, set it into this beautiful garden, this organic bowl and let it do work, let the universe, the divine, work its magic, and that magic transforms me in some way, and also transforms the other person, and certainly transforms the blame. And so, and like I said, this is a concept I'm just starting to explore, and there's been other ways. Today I'm talking about blame, but I've been also looking at it from other things that give me that same feeling of frustration or whatever. And I'm like, ooh, this concept of holding a negative energy in a space that can allow it the time to decompose and transform, is that's takes compassion and empathy like up 100 notches, right? That's um, I don't know if you can feel it, but there's something so powerful about knowing that you're in a position where you can receive that, place it into this place outside of either of you, and allow something more powerful, beneficial, productive, useful, fruitful to come from it, to let that energy shift. And which means you're not defending, you're not explaining, you're not taking on more than's yours to own. It may look like that, I think, from the other person, because you're not defending or explaining anything. They're just like, oh, um, they may think that you're just taking on full responsibility, but honestly, I don't think they think that, because there isn't resolution in that, which is, you don't want resolution that way. You're just allowing it, putting it into this space, this container, this spiritual container, and letting it set aside and do its thing. And you're clear, like you've sifted through that which was yours. You're taking responsibility for that, and the rest of it is no longer either of yours to it's certainly not yours to hold. And that person can decide what they want to do with it. But I can tell you that there's a larger energy here that's going to be working with it. And you will be transformed, and they will be transformed, right? And so you can be in the middle of some sort of a conflict and be at peace, because you know you will take 100% responsibility for what's yours, and you will also um, allow like divine love and wisdom to work its magic on that vitriol, that other energy. And that does so much for the other human. It's such a gift for them. And again, they probably almost certainly don't even understand what's happening, but it's happening. It's definitely happening. You just need to receive it, take care of what belongs to you, place the rest in this, organic a bowl that can decompose in this beautiful garden that looked a lot like my drive going up to Wisconsin, and allow it to decompose and transform. And so I think that, and I say this without judgment, but blame, criticism, frustration that you're feeling from another person, or even out, this other person is frustrated with you, or again, that sort of just real anger that they might be feeling that's being directed to you, but is not the higher percentage of it is very little to do with you. Um, that 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 much belonged to the other person, right? Much belonged, but they're still learning how to regulate their emotions. They're still maturing in how to sift through situations themselves and take on what's theirs to take on, and do it in a way that doesn't make them feel bad about themselves, and certainly not having to shift it because they don't know how to take that on, right? Um, and so, the other person just isn't in a position, and the more mature, the person who's done the work to understand how to manage and regulate those sort of high emotions of anger or frustration or blame that's coming at you, you have a real opportunity to give a gift to the world by being someone who helps transform energy. And imagine this inside of a corporate culture, where you treat these conflicts more as something that is has the opportunity to be transformed into something more powerful and helpful and useful and productive and fruitful and beneficial and all of those words. And so, because I know we've all been that person that is, um, immature, and still, and it isn't about age, because I can tell you with many people, I could absolutely receive it, put it in this beautiful organic bowl and set it in the garden and watch it work its magic as I make amends for the stuff that's mine to make amends for and take responsibility there. But there can be some people that still have me hooked, and that's just the truth of it. And that's also an opportunity for me to see how I can um, use the same concept to take on 80% of the responsibility and let them have the other 20, instead of the reverse of me thinking, well, yeah, maybe I did this, but look at everything they did. Let's blame them. So there's something really special about experiencing blame, not as a burden, but as a gift that you are temporarily holding for someone else as they work through their wounds and they strengthen their own self-responsibility. There's just something so powerful and special about being able to be that person. And so that's what I have to say. It's just, we are here to create work cultures that work for everyone, which means we're dismantling a lot of the ways that things used to be done. Martha Beck talks about this, and I'm probably going to start talking about this a little more myself. She talks about the pyramid and the pool, and the pyramid being the hierarchy, patriarchy, kind of command and control way that we've built work cultures all these years, and how they really don't work, or have, all the proof is out there how they're not working, except for a very few, right? And the pool energy is this idea of empathy and compassion, but I think this what I was talking to you about today, this gift of being able to hold someone else's, um, blaming energy or angry energy or frustrated energy or shaming energy, just to be able to hold that, knowing it isn't yours to take on, but you can have a role in um, in decomposing that. And as the pyramid, it helps this pyramid hierarchy pyramid dissolve into this pool of compassion and empathy and and responsibility. So, and this is how we change work culture to work for everybody. This is a step in that direction. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this idea of receiving the blame, not into your own body, into your own psyche, but into a place where that it can be divine love and wisdom can work its magic, and you can just take care of what's yours to take care of, and allow this other person, watch them actually grow and transform themselves into a magnificent uh, person in the this pool of um, equitable, joyful, calm um, energy that we can all be working with and within and with each other in a different way. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to is oh my gosh, August. So 9 o'clock a.m. next Wednesday will be my first. It's already August. Who knew? And always would love to have you join Career Alchemy Academy, where we explore these topics and this idea of feeling clear, confident, and purposeful about going after our career dreams in a way that is, as Martha Beck puts it, pool consciousness, in a way that serves not only ourselves, but our families, our community, and the world. So let's go. Talk to you all soon. Have a great day. Peace.